Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Welcome to our, I think, what is technically our last to Infinity War and Beyond.
Yep.
I'm Joe.
I'm Ashley.
We are Geek to My Nerd, and we are talking Spider-Man Far From Home, as if you couldn't tell from our little introductory slide, as well as the music we played, as well as, us tweeting about it for the past couple of days, and, as it's also the current, Marvel movie that's out.
Mhm.
So, lots of that stuff. It's not like we'd be talking about, I don't know, Thor: The Dark World again. Like, why would we do that?
I don't know why.
So, we got a busy day ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
We should go ahead and get started. Currently, the only person that's popped in the chat is Cal the Kingslayer. Thank you for joining us, good sir. As you get started, I'm probably going to tweet out that we're live.
Mm-hmm.
But I did tweet earlier, and people have seen it, and all that jazz. So
yes, I just realized I forgot to put my glasses on.
You do that a lot.
It's more. I can still see though.
Yeah, well, it's not like you got to read the chat like I do.
That's true. Exactly.
That's my job.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. So shall we get started?
Let's do this.
Boop. All right. So of course, our little schedule. We're gonna go over the box office and some other data. Then we're going to talk about the big blip in the room, our gripes and our likes, the post-credits, which includes, of course, mid-credits as well, and then future of the franchise. So let's just get to it, shall we?
Go for it.
All right, so Spider-Man was released on the 4th of July weekend. Officially, it came out on July 2nd. It was directed by Jon Watts, who also directed Spider-Man Homecoming. This is the 11th movie in the third phase, and so this closes out the whole phase cycle. This will be the last movie, and then beyond this will be technically phase 4, but we'll get into that later. We just got official numbers for the weekend. It placed number 1, which is what I predicted. All the Marvel movies have placed number 1 at the box office. Its budget was $160 million, which is $15 million lower, and you had some insight into why it might have been a little lower.
Yeah, I think part of it is the lower, what I will say is casting costs.
Mm-hmm.
You could almost argue $15 million is lack of Robert Downey Jr. and lack of Michael Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
I could be incorrect in that numbering, but it just feels like that's part of it.
Yeah, typically when we get one of these Marvel sequels, most of the time the budgets go up. I can think of maybe one instance where it may have gone down, and sometimes that has to do with box office performance. But they have this overarching narrative that they're trying to reach. So,
and also considering the last 3 or 4 movies they've spent money on, they've spent an egregiously large amount of money,
and most of that was probably to pay for personnel. But, obviously Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal are the big draws in this one.
Yep.
Opening weekend numbers. So this is just for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. With 93 million. Basically, 93.6 million. So that is a little low for a Marvel opening, especially a summer opening. But this summer has been pretty weak. When you actually throw in the whole of the 4th of July holiday weekend, that number goes up to 185 million, which is pretty standard for a Marvel movie. So basically, in its 4th of July weekend gross, it earned it back its whole production budget. And then box office worldwide is in the 500,000 mark. So already in its first weekend, it's hit that peak of getting above the 500,000, $500,000 mark. So it's doing pretty well. We'll have to look at the other chart in a moment to see how it compares so far to its predecessor. All right, as far as scores go, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and then 96% from the audience. No cinema score has been released for this movie yet, which I found odd because Midsommar, which came out a day later, has its cinema score published. It's rumored that the cinema score for Spider-Man will be an A, but I'm not sure, and I read that online on Reddit, so I don't know where they were exactly getting their source from. I wouldn't be surprised if it got an A. It was a very delightful movie. And then the Metacritic score was 69 for their critic metric, and then an 8.0 for their audience. So doing fairly well, but very well received so far. I have seen a few complaints about it, but for the most part, pretty positive reception. And then just, looking at the big face chart, I don't have the ones with all the posters on it because it was just getting so hard to shrink everything.
Yeah.
But when we look at Spider-Man Far From Home versus Homecoming, all right, we see that the audience score for Homecoming was a little lower when we looked at it, and it earned an A for its cinema score. And worldwide, it did pretty well, not quite getting to $1 billion, but getting a respectable gross. So I feel that this could also earn a respectable gross. Spider-Man is a very popular Marvel character. People love Spider-Man. People love the dog on Spider-Man because there's been so many Spider-Man franchises.
As a side note, the Hollywood Reporter is also saying it got an A, but I'm trying to find where. So
anyway, yeah, that's that for the facts.
Awesome. So yeah, not a lot of chat going on right now. We are in an unusual time slot for us. Don't worry, the network's not moving us around. This is just a busy weekend.
It's a logistical thing.
And we noticed that we waited practically a month to do Endgame. And we didn't want to wait that long. You have something coming up.
I will be
probably waited till tonight or tomorrow.
I will be far from home tonight.
Not that far. But yes, far enough. But as there's not a lot in the chat at the moment, what do you say we keep going?
All right. So the big blip in the room. So this is what they are officially calling what happened when everybody came back from the snap. All right. So I had to get this image from, I think it's like
It's from Homecoming.
It's from Homecoming, but I think it's an extra feature from Homecoming I
Probably.
found. So we learn about all of this from the Midtown Technical High School's newscast, the blip, and they show images of it happening live where like people disappeared, and you see the band is in the gym and they dust away, and then 5 years later during a basketball game, the whole marching band that got blipped away comes back,
which is fantastic because it's the first time we actually see a return, because in Endgame everyone comes back.
Yeah, we didn't get to see how it happened. Yeah, so we get to see, and one of the other things that they're dealing with, and of course it's all this bad graphics and whatnot, and Comic Sans, which I loved, and then the whole production of it was just very, very corny.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the posters.
Yeah, that's why I brought these posters about, just to show how corny their whole presentation was.
Yeah.
And the first part of the presentation was a tribute to Tony Stark, who gave his life.
Well, it's not just Tony Stark. I think it's all the Avengers who are gone.
But mostly Tony.
Which they think everyone is under the impression Cap is dead too.
Yeah.
Which honestly, he might be at that point.
Yeah.
He was fantastically ancient.
He was very old. So yeah, they have this corny presentation, and the tribute, and that was "I will always love you, Whitney Houston."
Yeah.
And then we learn a little bit later that homeless support is a huge thing because
this was a massive disruption.
So people's houses that were empty, apparently Aunt May's apartment that she shares with Peter, was rented out to new people. So when she got blipped back, the wife thought that this was a mistress, and all sorts of things. So it kind of touched on what happened in the world, but not in a level where you had scrutinized it a whole lot.
Well, there was another one that I thought was actually kind of fascinating, was Martin Starr's character, Mr. Harrington, talked about how
his wife.
He thought his wife was blipped away. Everyone thought she was blipped away. They had a funeral for her and everything, only to find out that no,
she just
she just took it as an opportunity to bail.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine there was a little of that, and it's just the idea of the legal ramifications. They didn't go super into detail, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
I think that would kind of ruin it. But I think they did a good job of doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of addressing it, and it was pretty humorous. the other thing that they talked about was the fact that, and Betty was very mad that they made them to take the whole year over, even though they had already completed the first semester.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically they started off as 16 years old again, even though their driver's licenses say they're 21, which Flash tried to abuse on the airplane, and they're like, he's 16.
He was blipped.
Yeah, he got blipped. So, and then now like they're in a new class with like all the classmates that didn't get blipped away. So definitely an interesting logistical issue for like the school and for life in general. But I thought that they handled it pretty well. I was satisfied.
Yeah.
All right.
What's next?
All right. So our gripes.
There's not a lot of movement in the chat, so I'd say let's move on to gripes.
All righty. All right, so if you know anything about Spider-Man, you see this Mysterio character show up, you're like, I wonder, he's trying to act like he's a good person. When is this gonna like fall apart?
Yeah, if you have like you were saying, if you have any foreknowledge of Mysterio or anything about Spider-Man, you're basically like you're waiting for the shoe to drop.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a question of is Mysterio the bad guy? It's more about what's he doing and how is he going to be revealed to Peter that he's the bad guy.
And it takes a long time narratively for this to happen. So it's like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop because he's introducing the cold open, which is, structurally the beginning of Homecoming and the beginning of Far From Home are very similar, where we have, a cold open that introduces, a threat, and then, the school report and, those kind of things. So structurally very similar, like almost beat for beat, which is fine.
Yeah. I will say my gripe is attached to this is, can Spider-Man have his own stuff going on? Because this is his second movie, and both of his movies are basically villains created by Tony Stark.
Exactly.
And that's not a problem. They're good villains and they're well used, and it makes sense. But like, there was some complaints when this movie came out. I've seen them online a few places, mostly social media, where you see most complaints. That it's really tiring that Spider-Man can't be Spider-Man. He's got to be perpetually attached to Iron Man.
Yeah, or like they call him Tony Stark Jr. or is this Iron Man 5?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's all those kind of complaints. And I think it's a little over-exaggerated, but it's also not incorrect.
Yeah, there's a kernel of it that does feel very much like.
And I know part of that is the narrative choice to make Peter feel the stress. Because the whole movie, they're like, are you going to be the next Iron Man? It's like, no, I'm going to be Spider-Man.
I'm going to be Spider-Man. And yeah, he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. But it just took so long for it to be revealed. And it was just like, I was just waiting. And not that the things that they did on screen weren't enjoyable. It was just like, okay, like what's going on here? What are they doing? And it kind of in a different way with like the Skrulls, because obviously in Captain Marvel, like the Skrulls are evil. The Skrulls are evil. I thought that twist was better.
This is closer to something like Endgame. Like, all these people are coming back. It's just waiting to see what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's just Endgame had a fun time heist.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was good as Mysterio. It was just like, okay.
Oh, and the turn was very satisfying.
Yeah.
But I figure that's in our likes.
Oh yeah, it was just like, okay, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then even then, like I saw this little video where Jake Gyllenhaal and Tom Holland visited the hospital, and like I'm surprised Tom Holland didn't ruin it because he's not good with spoilers.
He's getting better.
And he was like, yeah, this is Mysterio. He helps, me and Mysterio team up to fight the bad guys. And it's like, oh, man, those kids, when they see the movie, no one wanted to see Mysterio anyway. They're like, Spider-Man.
Most of those kids probably knew.
So, yeah, then, like, the whole manipulation thing, it's like, oh, man, like, it's taking so long. And you're just, like, yelling at the screen. Don't do it, Peter. That is a bad guy. Don't give away, like, weapons of mass destruction.
It's really hilarious that they actually got me at one point, too, with the Mysterio stuff. Like, the turn where they make you think Fury shoots him.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, oh, cool. And then, nope. No, that wasn't it. We're not done yet.
Yeah. All right. And then some other gripes. that I had, or just basically like we see like all these like promotional materials or things that are just for the trailers, and like I would have loved to see like Mr. Delmar and Peter talking again, and this is from Far From Home stuff, so hopefully this will be some deleted scenes.
I also really wanted the scene where Peter is actually a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, like that.
Where he's fighting the crime.
And then, like, they allude to the fact that he got his passport, but we know from the trailer that he actually did get his passport. And there's like, Peter Parker here to pick up a passport.
I just want to know how many times he had to do that.
And to rehearse that line and not break his accent because Tom Holland is British. Yep. So, yeah. Anyway, so just very minor. Other than that, like, I really like the movie a lot. I want to go see it again.
We wanted to go see it before doing this, a second time before doing this, but just the cards, it wasn't in the cards.
It wasn't.
Still no one in the chat. Just moving on.
All right.
There's a lot to like about this movie.
All right. So awkward Peter Parker Spider-Man at the event. It's like, hello, thank you for having me. Like just very stilted and and like the screen grab of May. It's like, okay, honey, like please say some more stuff. This is awkward.
Yep.
And then, of course, Mr. Harrington. And I couldn't get a scene of him that was a close-up from this movie, so I had to steal one from Homecoming.
Sad.
But yeah, like Mr. Harrington, like I'm gonna definitely have to do a video just about all the school stuff that happened in this movie because it was so very, very wrong. But Mr. Harrington is so gullible. And like he just wants everything to go so well, and everything is going so horribly.
Yep.
And he just has an undeterred spirit. And like the whole purpose of them going to one of the locales was to go to like a specific museum or church or something.
That he didn't check online ahead of time.
That it was closed for like maintenance. So it was just, I love Mr. Harrington. And allegedly like his character from the Hulk is supposed to be the same character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they never named the character. So you're just supposed to, I guess, paint the picture yourself. But I have seen them connected.
I really hope that's true. Like, I hope, even if it's a retcon, I hope it's true.
Yeah. And then we are introduced to a new teacher played by J.B. Smoove, Mr. Dell, who was a science teacher.
Is this from a commercial?
This is from a commercial. Because, again, I could not get any actual footage. So this was a commercial that I think for an Audi, because that's like the brand.
That's the Marvel car brand.
Yeah, that's associated. And so it was like Peter Parker's driving test. And apparently this did so well with audiences that they brought him on as a teacher.
Look, all I'm saying is what they should have done was bring on the Final Fantasy XIV commercial combo of Hannibal Buress and Tom Holland, and have their gym teacher also go on the trip.
That would have added a layer of comedy that I would have loved. But Mr. Dell, he's a science teacher. I don't know exactly what science he teaches, if they mentioned it.
The science of witchcraft.
Because he's like, what's going on with all these elemental figures and like what's happening?
Well, in my scientific opinion,
witches. And then you see him later like Googling like stuff about witchcraft, and he keeps mentioning the witches, and you can just tell that like Mr. Harrington probably strong-armed him into coming to the field trip because they needed 2 chaperones.
Yep.
And he's like, nah, man, no. Like, I'll take the first shift. I'm going to be asleep. I took an Ambien. It's like, okay, then. And poor Mr. Harrington.
Yep. I'm kind of hoping there's some sort of reference to him in like a future Doctor Strange movie or something. Like he quits teaching and goes to learn the mystic arts.
That would be funny. And then, well, I was gonna say something else about him.
About how awesome J.B. Smoove is.
He's great. Oh yeah, there was rumor that he was supposed to be J. Jonah Jameson. Like that was like the rumor mill.
He would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Like not that I'm like against what ended up happening. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I think he would have been amazing.
Well, yeah, I saw that when I was trying to find pictures. It was like J.B. Smoove is J. Jonah Jameson. It's like, oh, honey, no. And I just like the aspect of them going to all these different locales. They start off going to Venice.
These are way better posters than the theatrical ones we got.
I know, right?
They could have done these. Like, oh my God. I'm so angry at this. Like, this could have been a gripe. Because those posters, it's like Spider-Man has the historically worst posters in all
I
of
know,
the
right?
Marvel
Like,
movies.
who's making them?
And then they release these. Are these actual official posters?
These are real posters. I got them from the Internet Movie Database.
Oh my god, I am. Oh.
And you should see all the Chinese ones are great.
Well, that's usually also how it goes. A lot of the
Uh-huh.
Asian market, but like, do you remember the Venom posters?
Uh-huh.
Granted, those aren't Marvel posters, but you know,
Yeah.
these technically aren't either. They're Sony posters.
Yes, but it's like, who are they getting to do these things? So you have little Spider-Man sitting in the Sea of Venice, and yeah, like their hotel in Venice is terrible. Like it's
Yeah.
flooding and falling apart.
It's got character.
And they were supposed to go to Paris, but then some things happened and they went to Prague instead. So there's Spider-Man hanging from the U of Prague.
I believe, to quote Peter Parker, who was there to pick up a passport, Nick Fury hijacked their vacation.
Yeah, so he was manipulating everything, and I want to say that their Prague hotel was like very nice, and Mr. Harrington's just taking the company's word for everything.
He's like, upgrades.
Yeah. And then they went to London.
Yep. London was calling.
Yeah, London was calling. London's actually their last location. I think they were in Berlin briefly before that.
Yep.
I just didn't reverse the posters, but yeah, him on the little Berlin just chilling, and then that's where Mr. Harrington's like, okay, Peter, you have family in Berlin. Sure, you can just leave the field trip. Like, no, that's no.
Like, you do that if you're like a city away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could get away with that, like if because they're from Queens.
Mm-hmm. And they were in like Manhattan.
Yeah, they could probably do that. Yeah,
like
sure.
Internet.
Stay with your uncle in Manhattan for the day.
Yeah.
But like they're in Europe.
Yeah.
And
where trafficking is a thing.
Totally.
Not a thing. It's a thing here too, but you know.
Yeah.
And then London was their last location, and just like a fun little.
I love these posters. Like, holy cow! These could have been the official posters, and these would have been amazing.
You're gonna have to go buy all these posters, aren't you?
I'm so angry right now. I am visible.
Yeah, because those other posters from the gripes part were just like, who made this?
Yeah. Oh my god.
And those weren't even like the worst ones. All right, and then of course, like Peter has a new antagonist in addition to Flash Thompson still making fun of him, but Flash loves Spider-Man. So funny. The dramatic irony is so rich on that. But then we have Brad Davis, who was one of the kids that remained behind during the blip, and so he had grown up, and now
glowed up, more like it.
And he is also vying for the affections of MJ. And yeah, he tries to blackmail Peter Parker at one point, which was hilarious because then he's trying to show the photo and it just magically disappeared from his phone because Peter has, Edith to help him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he almost killed everybody, but he was learning. Yep. And yeah, Brad's definitely a jerk, great villain. When he was like trying to blackmail Peter, and then later on he tries to bring it up again. They're like, dude, why are you taking pictures of people in the bathroom? That's wrong. Like, you shouldn't do that. And so the little comeuppance that he got was pretty satisfying. And then Peter just trying to ghost Nick Fury, like not talk to him, was pretty great.
Happy was like, don't do this.
Don't do this. It's like, why isn't he talking to me? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why he didn't get your call. Like, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone.
When all Peter wants to do is be Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not even be Spider-Man for a little bit.
Yeah. He just wants to go on a vacation with his friends. And of course, him with the Edith glasses, that was pretty funny because, like, how does nobody notice, like, him talking to himself?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I guess, well,
maybe he's speaking in hushed enough tones.
I mean, Flash was like literally like not Skyping, but like Snapchatting or like live streaming like the whole vacation to his Flash mob.
God, he's got the perfect name for being social media.
I know, right? Flash mob. That stuff was pretty great, very realistic to the age group, and
something we've talked about before when we talked about Spider-Man: Homecoming is these teenagers feel like legitimate teenagers.
From this
The only thing surprising is it's 5 years in the future,
Uh-huh.
and they're still using the same social media platforms.
All right. Yeah, they just kind of just gloss over that fact. And then this wonderful relationship that developed on the airplane.
And ended on an airplane.
And ended on the airplane between Ned and Betty. So yeah, like they, left like they did not want to sit next to each other, and then they get off the plane. We're dating now.
Mm-hmm. We have so much in common.
And they were so adorable. They wanted to be together all the time. And then, because Ned at first was like, Peter, like, we're going to be bachelors in Europe. Oh, I'm dating someone now. Good luck with your plan.
Yep, and just in general, the kids. This is from when they're trying to escape, because I think I see that building from London in the background.
Yeah,
when they're trying to escape the attack on London.
Yeah,
because that's the scene where the big final situation's going down and stuff. So, yep.
So yeah, they were cute. And then like Happy and the kids, like that was a fun interaction, especially when like they go hide in like the Crown Jewels vault, basically Tower of London, and they're all confessing things, and then he confesses that he's dating Spider-Man's aunt.
Or he's in love with Spider-Man's aunt.
Yeah, he's like, what? They're like, what? And he's like, what? I thought we were sharing. It's like, you don't even know these kids. Why are you saying stuff?
I think he knows Ned.
And he knows Ned a little, but like they've had like one conversation maybe. And then this is where Flash found out that Spider-Man knew where they were because Spider-Man was following him, and so he assumes that the literal Spider-Man is following his account. Spider-Man follows me. His heart.
And now he's gonna pour through all of it, all of his social media to find out like which one of them is Spider-Man.
Yeah, who's the Spider-Man? And he gets a new costume because he can't be Spider-Man in Europe. So
because people will put it together.
Yeah, like his classmates will figure it out, and so like, is that Spider-Man? No, and Ned's like, that's the Night Monkey.
Come on, man.
And then it takes off in the news somehow.
Yep.
Night Monkey, and then they see him in Germany. It's like Nacht Monkey, and like run off. That was really cute.
Someone brought up, look, he's got the same power as Spider-Man. He's a spider monkey.
He's a spider monkey. And then, of course, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio was great.
Mm-hmm.
I love the costume, and they kind of talk about the fact that he's like Iron Man and Thor, and like everybody all rolled up into one.
It's portrayed like he's basically like technological magic.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way it looks.
And from another dimension, and he talks about the fact that like your Earth is 616. The Earth I come from was a different number that I don't remember, but it's probably a significant Marvel universe.
And then like everyone in the audience that knows Mysterio is just like 616, huh? It's cute.
Yeah, because and I saw one of our friends, Langley, pointed out that the MCU universe number is like
19,999,000.
Something like that. So yeah,
it's some dumb huge number that starts with 19.
Yeah, it's not 616.
No, 616 is your core
Marvel
Comics universe. So.
And of course, with knowing that Mysterio is the villain, he's an unreliable narrator in that moment. So obviously, he's just lying and making up stuff because he's not from a different dimension.
Mm-mm.
And then his powers looked really cool on screen with the whole
quote unquote powers.
Yeah, magic, whatever's going on. And then even with his fishbowl on, like I thought it looked good.
Yeah. And the reason he has the fishbowl, like the stylistic choice for why that is a costume decision is also really good. Because he's wearing like some sort of control mechanism over his head. But this is just, honestly, it looked really good. The comic accurate Mysterio looked amazing. As you mentioned, Jake Gyllenhaal knocked it out of the park, especially whenever you get the actual turn in the movie of him like showing his true colors.
Yeah, so this is not that exact scene, but close enough that we could get. So yeah, he, gives Peter the talk, and Peter's like, you should have this Edith because you're a good person. Maybe this is what the message meant. And then we see things start to like digitally disappear, and like there's a dude freaking out, and then it goes on for so long.
Mhm.
This whole big exposition dump. I've never quite seen an exposition dump quite like this that was so funny that made me not care that it was like the worst storytelling.
It was reminiscent of one of the better scenes from the IT Crowd, where it's the end of the first. I think it's the end of the first season or beginning of the second or something.
Yeah.
Where no, it was the end of the first.
Okay.
Where
there was a big project.
Denham Renham starts having this huge, like, the entire company is there, and he has this huge, like, exposition talk about like, this Project Icarus is doing a great thing, and he starts thanking everyone involved. It's like, and then I'd like to thank the lawyers. They cut the red tape. They cut the red tape. And then it ends with him talking as like, and I also want to thank. And the IT Crowd's like, or
yeah,
IT
they're getting, and he's like pouring
ready.
Champagne to them. It's like, this is like the most essential group ever.
Yeah, and he's like, and I want to thank the toilet cleaners. But that's kind of what this felt like, because it's him going like, and we couldn't have done this without Mary's doing this thing.
Mary with the costumes.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then,
and
like,
thank goodness, like, how are you connected to Tony Stark? Because basically it was Tony's, like, everybody
the Tony Hate Club.
Yeah, the Tony Hate Club. But, like, the one guy that made all the tech, it's like, okay, like, you worked for Tony when he made Iron Man. And we see, like, a scene of Obadiah Stane yelling at this guy, Tony Stark
built this in a cave. And we also find out, of course, the guy that Quentin Beck is the guy who created the barf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his like million
the AR thing.
$1 billion therapy session. And then we see like a backstage of that where he's like mad that the acronym was terrible. Because that's not the acronym that he came up with, and
correct.
He didn't even get any credit for like what he.
It wasn't just billion; it was like $611 billion.
Yeah.
Or some ridiculously high number that I'm like, cool.
Yeah, and then Tony didn't use it for like the original purpose, and then there was like another guy that was like the writer coming up with like all the backstory for everything, and then Mary's the costume designer. So like this whole team to pull off this huge lie.
What is essentially a heist.
Essentially, so many heists. Heists are great.
Binary augmented reality. Yeah, the F. I don't remember what the F stood for.
I don't remember either.
But yeah, it was like barf, and it is hilarious. Cal's updating us with the USA is winning the women's nationals finals or whatever it is, whichever game it is.
Nice.
But yeah, the him standing on a table in this broken down abandoned bar that wasn't just a few minutes ago, pouring, like, basically drinking entirely out of a bottle of wine himself while he's expositioning this massive, like, congratulatory speech. Is just like some of the best ever.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had a truly like viscerally just fun villain in a while in the Marvel universe, because we had like Killmonger and however the villain stuff got shuffled around in Captain Marvel and all the Infinity War stuff. Thanos is just so dour. So I don't think we've had a truly fun villain since Ragnarok.
Probably.
Because I'm trying to think of everything between that came before this, and we had, and even Hela was kind of like a bit much. Oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot Ant-Man and the Wasp, though that also has a weird villain shuffle situation. But one could argue Sonny Birch is a pretty fun villain.
But this, we haven't quite seen one ham it up so much.
Yeah, it's really fun. I don't think we've had such a fun villain. Like we talked about earlier in the gripes, that it's really frustrating that that basically all the villains in the Spider-Man movies are Tony Stark's enemies. I would have really loved to see Mysterio versus Iron Man. But, that
ain't gonna happen.
No. For at least 2 reasons.
All right, and then later on, I couldn't find a picture of Jake Gyllenhaal in one of these suits, but we actually see him, Quentin Beck, in one of these, in a mocap suit, like giving commands and whatnot, and like he has like an actual costume that they use as well.
His quick change ready. His quick change costume
for like
ready.
Close-ups and whatnot. So it was just funny to see like this VX
that technically what his real costume was a mocap suit. And the dome that he's wearing is actually like this like this visual dome that he can see all his readouts and technical stuff.
Yeah, it's basically like he he incorporated Edith into that. Yeah, and then Edith stands for like even in death, like I'm the hero. Like Tony's the hero.
I'm the hero.
Yeah, Tony's the hero. Oh, Tony, your ego. Just when we thought you had grown.
Yep. I also really enjoyed this myself, is MJ finding out.
Yeah, MJ figuring out that Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
I do like the moment that there's a part in it, this whole reveal where, you know, she's saying all this stuff. She's like, I figured it out. It's pretty easy to figure out. You know, you make it easy to figure out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually when he starts like breaking down, oh my God, I just realized what I did and what's really going on. Because it's during this scene where she tells him she understands, she knows that he's Spider-Man, that he figures out Beck's up to no good.
And then he made a huge mistake.
Correct. Whenever he starts like freaking out about it and explaining it to her, she's like, "Oh my God, I was actually only like 60% sure."
Yeah, that was pretty great. And like he thinks that like, oh, she really likes me. And she's like, no, I was just trying to figure out if you were Spider-Man. But then later on,
she says,
yeah, she actually says that like she does like him and such. And I think that they have excellent chemistry.
Yep.
I like their little budding relationship. I think it's cute. I think definitely those two should be together and not that Brad dude. Who cares? Brad, go away.
Brad's a butt.
He's problematic. Because again, he's trying to like blackmail. It's like, oh, you're like with a prostitute in the bathroom. Like what? Like clearly, like not a cool dude taking pictures of people.
Man, if we didn't already have a Sony has their own Eddie Brock, they could have easily had Brad be Eddie Brock.
Yeah, it would have worked.
Give him a reason to hate Peter.
And then I like the fact that even though like he has access to all of like the Stark stuff, like it was him designing the suit that he needed. So he was actually having to use his own intelligence. It was just the fact that he didn't have to like sew it.
He's got a fabricator now.
Yeah, he didn't have to sew it in his own house like he's had to do in every other iteration of his story.
Yep.
He has access to things that he needs. And
I really enjoyed this scene too because even Happy's got this moment of like reliving the good old days of putting on some AC/DC while he's building a suit. And then Peter's just like, I love Led Zeppelin.
It's like, oh, honey, no.
Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was really good. I really enjoyed this. I think people were also complaining about this, that he's basically, he's making an Iron Man suit. Well,
when you have to fight, like, certain things.
And it's one of those situations where I remember, was it in Homecoming when he finally got his training, when he took off the training wheel protocols, and he talked about how Mr. Stark really overdid it. This is the suit Peter probably wanted to build or would have built. And imagine the kind of suit he would design if he had more than an hour's flight time to build it. It would probably be even more impressive. But it was pretty impressive as it was. So, yeah. Yeah,
I liked it. It kind of gave us the, a little bit of old with the new. All right. And that's it for, the likes that we could find pictures for. Was there anything else before we go into mid-credits and post-credits?
I just really like this movie. There's a lot that you kind of have to hand-wave away, especially with the fact that, it's this apparent, core 6 characters going to Europe. And
yeah, just the convenience of, all the classmates that have something to do with Spider-Man's story.
Yeah.
Because, Betty Brant's, in the comics, of course, MJ, even though this is a
different take.
A new take on MJ, Flash Thompson, a different take on his character.
Very different take on
Because I've always, at least what I gathered from, the Tobey Maguire version, he was super dumb.
Well, it's not even just, it wasn't that he was dumb. He's a jock.
Yeah.
And Tony Revolori's version of Flash is not a quote-unquote jock. I believe he is the closest thing you can be without being that, and that is an Instagram influencer in high school. that's literally there just because, like, look, I'm in Europe doing Instagram thing.
I like it when they finally got home and like everyone else's parents and guardians were there, but his family's driver came to pick him up.
Yeah,
and you could just tell he was so sad,
so crushed.
And it kind of gives us a little more insight into his character that even though he seems to have everything, he really doesn't.
Yeah, that's the other thing is the similar thread between this Flash and the Flash and some of the other iterations is he's a bully. He bullies Peter. And in the other ones, it's because he's the king of the school and Peter's a dweeb. And it's a very simplistic, very traditional role of like, I'm the alpha, you're the beta. I'm gonna make sure you remain in that category. Where Tony Revolori's feels like more of your deflection style bully. Like he suffers, so he makes other people suffer to make him feel good about himself.
Yeah, because even though his life seems great,
it's
there's no parental figures that really care about him.
Yeah, there's no affection. And that's probably also why he's this massive Instagram person.
Yeah, he's trying to find love from other sources.
Yep.
And I like the fact that he talked about Spider-Man makes me want to be a better person. And you can kind of see it just a little. Like, he was still mean to Peter, but he wasn't, like, the worst.
Right. He wasn't, DJing a whole song about Peter Parker.
Yeah. We had Brad to fill in that role of being, like, the epic jerk because Peter wanted to, move in on territory that he thought he should move in on.
I can predict that maybe we're going to see a little bit of a redemption for Flash in the next movie. Now that the mid-credit scene is coming up and we know what happens there. But the other thing I wanted to say is another interesting take is where I'm kind of worried because they had this character in there. I'm hoping that this character is literally just there to be a nod to the fans. But the character Ned, who is Peter Parker's best friend in the movies here, in the current Spider-Man movies, in the comics, Ned is the Hobgoblin, and I'm kind of like, please don't do this. Like, Ned is too precious and pure.
Yeah, because they don't have that whole crud. Like, what's the character's name from the other Spider-Man?
The Osborns.
Yeah, the Osborns. Yeah. Like, they don't have that dynamic going at all yet.
And that's the thing. Like, even in I'll use the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. Even early on, there was this weird, uncomfortable dynamic with the Osborn family and Peter, both Norman and Harry. Harry was like this terrible, crappy. Harry was what Flash is now, kind of just not bullying Peter, but like this stuck-up jerk. Where Ned is just this pure, precious. The worst thing about Ned is he's looking at Peter's journey as also his journey. Like he's like,
should we tell everybody? Should I tell everybody? But he wants to say it so bad.
He wants to be popular through Peter's success, and I can see that could be another arc later on. But in general, I like Ned. He's one of my favorite characters of the side characters in these movies.
He's very delightful.
I mean, Infinity War kind of showed it where he was just like, hey, Ned, I need you to provide a distraction for me. He's like, holy crap, we're all gonna die!
I think that was very genuine. Like, he wasn't doing that on...
I think it was like half and half. Like, I think his word choice was deliberate, but his response was very genuine, if that makes sense. Because he's a kid.
Yeah.
But anyway. Let's get to some of the best mid-credit scenes and post-credit scenes in the entirety of the MCU. So,
all right, so we see Spider-Man like flying around, doing selfies, made me think of the video game.
Well, this was also, I think this part was in the trailer, at least a clip from this. And there's a clip from the mid-credit scene that's in one of the later trailers. Like, once the movie came out, they had trailers, and it's with him and MJ going on a date, which seems like the weirdest date ever.
Yeah. Oops.
But, we revealed it.
Sorry.
But what we have, like, after they talk for a few minutes is this news report that,
Spider-Man.
Mysterio died saving the world, and this... Oh, no, what are you doing, phone? And this information came up from a
video that was released
through this online publication known as the dailybugle.net and their Alex Jones figure of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes, very Alex Jones. And so we see that it's the same actor from from the Spider-Mans that we had when we were in high school, the Tobey Maguire one.
Which this was some of the most spot on casting then.
Mhm.
Like this was like the Patrick Stewart as Professor X of the Spider-Man castings.
Mhm.
It was so perfect. I don't know how they could have caught this lightning in a bottle again, other than just literally bringing him back, and that's kind of what they did. I'm kind of hoping we see more J. Jonah Jameson in the next one, even if it's only a little bit more.
Mhm.
But this is such perfect. Like there is almost no better casting than this. Like this has modified and augmented how this character is portrayed. Like the Sam Raimi movies version of J. Jonah Jameson has modified and augmented how the character is portrayed in the comics from then on. And you can see it. It's like when they had like Mr. Freeze in the Batman animated series be portrayed differently than he was before, and then suddenly that tragic backstory of Mr. Freeze is how they went from then on out. It's a very similar premise that they had. Oh crap! I can't remember the actor's name now. Because I was about to say Miguel Ferrer, but that's not right. That's completely incorrect because he's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Simmons, thank you. But yeah, it's so perfect. So we both kind of screeched.
We were like in our seats, and people had already left.
Yeah,
so like
that was the first mistake.
People missed this.
The early credits part where they're just doing the primary cast stuff with like imagery and things like that, which is something they've started doing as of late. No, Black Panther did it that way as well. But I
don't know if like Endgame, it's like, oh, well, they're not doing this anymore because there was no like end credits, mid credits for Endgame. So I don't know, people just forgot. But yeah, it's like, oh no, people are missing stuff. Don't leave.
But most important is the reveal that they do with this video, which is a big deal. Like it's a huge deal. Like this is as big as when Tony Stark announced that he was Iron Man
in Iron Man.
Yeah. Which wasn't done in previous superhero movies. Like superheroes were private entities.
Yeah.
They either weren't important enough that people knew who they are, like Blade, or they were huge but kept their identity secret, like Batman or whatever. But it also kind of teases you with this video because it's Mysterio being like, yeah, Spider-Man is, and it cuts out, and you're just like, oh, okay, good. But now it's like Spider-Man killed this guy, and now people want to know who he is. And it's like, Spider-Man's Peter Parker, and they flash a picture of him on the screen. Yeah. And even Peter's like, oh
no. Crap.
So,
yeah.
There's a lot of fun speculation online that there's going to be, like, legal stuff in the next one, like the trial of Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, when Mysterio's video comes out, he's like, I don't know what happened. I was able to send the monster away, but then Spider-Man attacked me with all these drones and
Tony Stark's weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, it's this insane system that he had set up that I guess he was just like, well, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to take Spider-Man with me.
Yeah, like they had a contingency.
And I feel like what's going to happen by the next movie is they're going to off-screen solve it. And it's going to be very much like that didn't like we figured out that Spider-Man isn't going to be doing this thing, blah, blah, blah. But you can't rebox the identity.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
And then our post-credit scene.
So I thought it was weird the whole time that, especially for Nick Fury, he seemed to be off.
Slightly. The more off for me was Maria Hill. Not that they never had chemistry and rapport, but there was just something different about their back and forth in this one.
Yeah.
Like she was way snappier to him, where in previous iterations of the characters, she wouldn't really backtalk him that much.
Yeah.
And I was happy with it. Don't get me wrong. Like that's always been one of my complaints about these movies is Maria Hill is kind of this side underutilized character, and she's a pretty important character in the comics. She takes over S.H.I.E.L.D. for a huge chunk of the time. So, but yes, it was weird.
Yeah. So that was going to be a gripe initially because like when I'm watching the movies, I'm thinking of like, okay, like what do I like? What do I don't like? And then this happened.
Yep.
And then when he was talking to Peter and stuff, it was very weird. And then, I thought I had a picture of it. Well, I do not have a picture of it,
That's
but because I couldn't get one.
They're driving and talking,
and then you see the dissolve, and it's Talos and his wife.
And we were both super excited and like, because our prediction fairly early on was like the weirdness of Nick Fury was like it was Mysterio playing him the whole time, like doing all these illusions and stuff because it's Mysterio.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's gonna happen. But when it revealed Talos.
Yeah, Talos and his wife, and then it's like, hey, like this is what's happening, and then we see like Nick Fury like on a spaceship
with some other Skrulls,
some other Skrulls, and it's like, what's going on? Like at first you think he's on vacation because it's like a little tropical setting, and then it's revealed. But yeah, I was like, what's going on? And they mentioned earlier the movie
that there were Skrull sleeper cells.
Yeah, Skrull sleeper cells. So I know a big complaint about Captain Marvel was the fact that the Skrulls were, revealed to be good, but maybe this will kind of satisfy those people that wanted to see bad Skrulls in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I don't even know if it's going to be setting up that. I wonder if it's kind of a situation where there's Skrulls on Earth to help keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Skrulls are going to be Fury's future shield.
Yeah.
Which would be just amazingly terrifying.
Interesting.
Well, the U.S. women's won beat the Netherlands.
Nice.
But
all
yeah.
Right. So any other future of the MCU stuff that you want to talk about? Because that's the end of the presentation.
There are any other images.
There are no more images.
I'm very fascinated to see where we go from here, because we didn't get a lot about what else is happening in the MCU.
They mentioned something about Doctor Strange, but
unavailable.
Yeah, like he's not available. And then Thor was off-world,
obviously, because he's going to be. I would imagine he's going to be in the next Guardians movie.
And then they didn't mention. I don't think they mentioned anything about Black Panther.
They did not. But like Black Panther is a character that I don't think you just casually call on to help save.
Yeah, because everyone knows he's the king of Wakanda. So.
Yeah. That being said, Wakanda is on Earth, and if this was a planetary threat situation, it feels like you do call one of the leaders of the world to be like, "Hey, you want to lend like half of your army to help us stop these elemental creatures?"
Yeah, like you can come help us out. Come on.
It also feels like Doctor Strange may not be able to help, but you know who might? The 500 or 50,000 or how many other mystics there are in the world.
Right?
Like, Doctor Strange is like, hey, I can't make it, man, but I'll send Wong and like 60 dudes and 60 people, and they'll.
I'm guessing Strange being unavailable, he probably would have been able to see through everything, so the reveal probably would have happened a lot faster.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is I don't know. Regardless, I'm very interested to see what happens from here. We know Nick Fury's off-world for probably. Well, I mean, Captain Marvel, he went to like orbit, but he's like very off-world for probably the first time.
Yeah, when it was funny because when Spider-Man's like, "Why don't you call her?" It's like you don't even get to say her name.
You're not allowed to invoke her name.
Yeah, it's like, why would Nick Fury care so much about?
Why would he say it like that?
Yeah, like it was so weird. But then then it was revealed, and it's like, oh, that makes sense.
So I'm wondering if we're gonna see like some Skrull versus Kree stuff in the next movie, and that could be the sleeper cell situation. Is in case there's a Kree invasion, why not have Skrulls on Earth to help fight the Kree?
Yeah. Well, because we know we're getting another Guardians movie because that all got situated again.
Thank God.
We know that Chris Hemsworth signed on for how many more movies?
Like 7.
7 more movies.
It's like a stupidly large amount.
And then they're going to make more of these Spider-Man movies, of course.
Cal asks if we think it'll be SWORD, which I think is the space division of S.H.I.E.L.D., like that kind of thing. I think that's kind of like a loose interpretation of what SWORD is. Like it's their exploratory / like we go out there and stop problems coming to us situation. And it's possible it could be SWORD. It could also be a setup for the Nova Corps, like a new Nova Corps with Xandar decimated and destroyed at the end of Infinity War, or by the beginning of Infinity War. And the original version of the Nova Corps destroyed. This could be like a rebirth of a new Nova Corps. And the superhero known as Nova, who's like the most powerful member or some crap.
Yeah, because there's still some loose threads from some of the other movies that haven't been explored, like in Doctor Strange with Mordo, doing a villain turn in the end credits. Adam Warlock from one of the Guardians Volume 2 end credits, where
the current theory is Adam Warlock is going to be played by Zac Efron. That's the current rumor.
And I'm trying to think of any other loose threads, because obviously anything in like the Iron, because a lot of the end credits are Thanos related, or they're like little one-off jokes, like with Goose or those kind of things. So yeah, there's not really like too many that have loose threads. So those are the only two I can think of.
And then we know there's other movies upcoming. You already mentioned Guardians. And we've mentioned Doctor Strange too.
Yeah, there's supposed to be
there's another Black Panther. There's going to be another Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Though other than them saying these are happening,
and there's a Shang-Chi movie that's coming out.
There's a Shang-Chi movie that they've already started casting, which is awesome. I'm excited for some new blood, basically, because Black Panther was kind of the start of that new blood mentality where, like, let's get some of these other characters that people know who they are, kind of, and really kind of bring them into the MCU and do our thing with them. Like, for example, the MCU's Captain Marvel is very different from how the rest of comics has her, because she's gone through so many different iterations and modifications and updates to her power set. Because originally she was just like Rogue. She didn't have laser beams and stuff. She was just super strong and flew and very nigh invulnerable, and then had some other alien experiments gave her laser powers. So updates.
Laser powers.
Let's see. There's also talks of like a Kids Avengers movie. I believe that is the Young Avengers. And yes, there is some speculation that's going to be introduced too, with both Cassie and I can't remember Hawkeye's daughter's name.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
Layla or something.
Lila or something.
Lila, something like that.
But
Lila's the otter from Guardians.
Right. Which is rumored to be played by Lady Gaga, and I don't know how much of a rumor that is.
Oh man, that'd be messed up because Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. Which I think is the point.
Yeah. Well, there's also like the illusion that like Maria Rambeau's daughter, it could be Photon.
Yep, because she is in theory in the comics. That's who she is. There's lots of things they could do, lots of threads they could go with. And we're talking like from Captain Marvel to now is almost 30 years.
All right, and now with the Fox acquisition, do you think they're going to try once again to bring back the Fantastic Four to the fold? That is their flagship property.
I think, it's interesting because I'm unsure, because they have the Skrulls, but they're part of Captain Marvel now. And the Skrulls were part of the Fantastic Four originally. And even if the Fantastic Four themselves, I personally am not a big Fantastic Four fan. I think they're kind of boring.
Because I want to say there are supposed to be allusions to them in some of the architecture for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where people were pointing out stuff online.
Yeah, the idea is they're the ones who bought the Avengers Tower. That's the theory. And Cal says it is Lila. I think it's spelled differently. I think with the Lila, that is the otter, is with a Y.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, that's not important.
Or will she be turned into an otter?
Oh, no, let's not do that. That's weird.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I do know there are some series coming out that are supposed to tie into the MCU somehow.
Yeah, we talked about, like, on our last broadcast about, like, WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and the Loki show. Like, we know all those things are coming to Plus.
A few other things real quick. People say the snap was based on gamma radiation that could cause mutation. It could also be some sort of weird backlash effect because it was Tony and his really quick without thinking or planning. Because it's one thing that you could argue that Thanos knew exactly what he wanted to do when he used the Infinity Stones. Tony, and to an extent Bruce, didn't. Like, they kind of knew what they wanted to do, but it's not like they had spent 50 years doing their plans.
Yeah.
And then I didn't see Nova. Cal thinks that the Nova movie will be about Thanos destroying Xandar. I can see that, and I really hope Dorian Day survives, John C. Reilly's character from Guardians, because he was like, I'm a huge John C. Reilly fan. I think that guy can do everything. weirdly. And I would love to see him be our Nova.
Mm-hmm.
I would love John C. Reilly to be Nova because it's like the perfect idea about that Green Hornet movie that came out that had Seth Rogen be Green Hornet, but actually good. Like, I think it's a good idea to have John C. Reilly be Nova because he's kind of schlubby, but he's a good guy.
And he's a good actor.
He is a good actor, and I think he doesn't get enough credit, and he deserves so much more.
Because he has such an interesting face. It's like when you see him and stuff, he stands out instantly. Because he's funny.
Oh, Cal says he's awful and stuff. No, you need to see Sisters Brothers.
Sisters Brothers is so good.
It is fantastic. I think he's not great when he's with Will Ferrell. I think like Step Brothers was the peak of their ability to be together.
Yeah, because Sisters Brothers has him and
Joaquin Phoenix and Jake Gyllenhaal
and
Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, Riz Ahmed. So it's really good.
It's a really good,
great Western. Yeah,
and he's one of the more serious characters in the movie. It's what I would consider a dark comedy.
Very dark.
And it's more serious, dramatic than comedy, though. There's some pretty hilarious moments in it, but most of the hilarity comes from Joaquin Phoenix because he's so terrible. And what was the other one I was going to recommend that John C. Reilly was in? Oh, Walk Hard. That's a fantastic movie.
He has to think of his whole life before he can perform.
Walk Hard. Let's see. Seen him in Chicago. He was good. Yeah. Kevin Feige is apparently in Hall H right now or something like that. But yeah, the theory is the snap is going to have all the gamma radiation. It's going to introduce mutants that way. All I know is that what I have heard regarding mutants is that it's going to be a while. Yeah. Like, we're talking 3 to 4 years.
They need to kind of like palate cleanse.
We need a break because we've had nothing but like bad X-Men movies for like a while now.
Yeah.
That being said, if they wanted to use the whole gamma radiation from the snap situation as an intro for something, that would be a fantastic intro for the Fantastic Four. Huh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And going back to what you would ask, like, do I think they're going to bring the Fantastic Four? Only because the Fantastic Four literally has like some of the best villains in Marvel attached to them, and some of the best side characters in Marvel attached to them.
And I mean, if they can make like weird stuff work that you would not think would work ever, like I think like these producers, like they know how to hire the right people to make it work.
Cal asks, like, isn't Nova Richard Rider? Sure, but Ant-Man's also Hank Pym, and our Ant-Man is Scott Lang. Yeah. And Hank Pym made Ultron, but our Ultron was made by Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. So I'm just saying it could be possible, and I would love to see it because he was one of the little side characters they introduced in Guardians that I just absolutely loved.
Now, do you think they'll bring Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool into the fold somehow?
If they don't, they're making a huge mistake.
Because he could be the one that comments on. He's the one that could notice that everything's messed up.
Yeah, he's already noticed it once. Talking about, like, I don't even know which timeline this is. Is it, which professor am I seeing? Is it McAvoy or Stewart?
Yeah.
Like, it would be perfect. It would be, like, the best. Like, if he ever meets Wolverine in the MCU, he's like, are you sure?
Are you sure you're Wolverine? Yeah, because I heard rumor that they want to try to get Hugh Jackman back, but I don't think they should.
No. Hugh Jackman.
And Logan.
That Wolverine ended and it was perfect, and let's just have a new character actor, etc. I think oh crap, I did see that Sony wants to have Tom Hardy's Venom in the next Spider-Man movie, and I am 100% down for that because I loved Venom.
I really liked Venom a lot.
It was not what I would say is a fantastic
I'm kind of sad we didn't see that one in the theater.
Yeah, I am too. Like,
because I enjoyed it so much.
It was I mean, I wouldn't it wouldn't be. He's already set a record, Cal. He's portrayed that character so long. He is such, and it's not just because I think like it was. I like Venom. Venom's one of my favorite Marvel characters in general. I love anti-heroes, and Venom is up there. Venom Lethal Protector #1 is one of my favorite comics because he murders and eats a Santa Claus that was killing people.
Oh my God.
Because it's Venom.
He does like to eat people.
But
So if we can't get Venom, does that mean we can't get Carnage later?
I mean, we could, in theory,
because like that. I know like that's an iconic Spider-Man villain.
Maximum. Well, it's more. The thing is, it's such an iconic villain in general, and he's such a dangerous villain. It's what brings Venom and Spider-Man together.
Yeah,
they're like, we can't not work together on this.
And then there's like the leftover things from like the Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's like the Scorpion. And then there's like so many other like Spider-Man villains that we haven't been introduced to yet in this universe, like Doc Ock and
Rhino,
Electro.
That being said, I'm super excited
that the crocodile guy.
Lizard.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm super excited that they are literally avoiding almost every villain that was introduced in a previous Spider-Man movie, because we've had one Lizard. We've had Green Goblin twice.
Yeah.
We've had Rhino once. We've had Doc Ock once. I don't know where else from there. The bigger disappointments that I wish they would have handled better is we had like the best Wilson Fisk, the best Kingpin in the Daredevil series, and I really wanted to see that Kingpin fight our Spider-Man, and that would have been fantastic.
And they seem like they come from such different universes.
They do, and that's kind of I think what would have made interesting. But the reason I do want Venom, our current Tom Hardy Venom, is he's so lovable. Like you just love Venom and Eddie as like best friends, but they kind of they're like the odd couple roommates, and the room is Eddie. But it would be a fantastic, if they did a Maximum Carnage style movie or something where it was Spider-Man and Venom having to team up to fight Carnage, then they could do it like a Red Heat style, like buddy cop movie where like Venom is but we could eat them, and Peter's like, but we could not.
Let's not eat people. We don't eat friends.
We don't eat not friends. How about we just don't? And Venom just gets sulky, and he's like, fine, children. So I really, really want like a really good, and I would love a Deadpool, or especially Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, and our current Spider-Man, because in the comics, Deadpool and Spider-Man are like the soulmates that hate each other, except Deadpool doesn't hate Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is so annoyed with Deadpool all the time, because he's Deadpool.
Yeah.
I think there's even a comic strip about they were using they basically took Deadpool's head, or like tied him up or something, some sorcerers did, and were trying to summon his soulmate, because at that point Deadpool had married the Queen of Succubi.
Oh, so they thought they were going to get that?
They thought they were going to be able to summon her and utilize her magic powers, but then they used the summoning spell and poof, they're Spider-Man.
Oh no, that's awesome. Man.
So it's fantastic, and I love Ryan Reynolds' iteration of Deadpool, because it's I think Deadpool's evolved a lot as a character since his days of creation.
Yeah,
he is a much more positive influence. He has a good heart. He's just kind of also crazy.
Yeah,
and doesn't really have a problem killing the bad guys. He just doesn't kill the good guys. For example, there's a comic arc where Wolverine kills Apocalypse as a baby, and even Deadpool's like, dude, it's a baby. You don't do that. He's a child.
Yeah, but it's Thanos.
No, it was Apocalypse.
I know. I'm just saying from Endgame. Oh man.
So, gonna catch up on the chat real quick. Let's see. In the waves roll, Thanos or Iron Man snap. Yeah, and it could be both. The fact that they're literally 10 minutes apart, like the big blasts of gamma radiation over the Earth, is literally 2 snaps 10 minutes apart.
Yeah.
Saying bring Hugh Jackman back, if only to beat Robert Downey Jr.'s record of portraying the character most times on screen. I get that. That's fun. But it's just Logan is such a good send-off.
Yeah, such a good send-off.
And I would rather see someone new take on the role.
Even though they're going to get made fun of.
It's like with Spider-Man.
I mean, how many Batmans have we had? It can be done.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Spider-Man's. I've liked every iteration of Spider-Man on screen. I did enjoy Tobey Maguire. I really liked Andrew Garfield. Yeah. I thought he was a better Spider-Man than Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
And in some cases, Andrew Garfield's better than Tom Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Because Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was quippy.
Yeah, like this one, we didn't really get into it in the gripes, but there was like a lack of quippiness in this one. But I think it's because Peter's depressed and he's overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He's got so much at his feet and so much on his plate.
This is
he
very
doesn't
much
have time to be super quippy.
This is very similar to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, where but that Spider-Man 2, he's like, I don't want to be Spider-Man anymore. This one's kind of like, I'd like a break.
Yeah.
Can I have a week off?
Can I just go on vacation? Everyone leave me alone.
I do not know what you're saying, Vincent Garzon. Thank you for joining us. We're at the end of our stream, but I do appreciate you joining us. To Digas Malapalabra. I don't know. I only speak English. I apologize. I know enough.
Palabra is like words, right? And mala would be bad.
We have bad words.
I don't know.
Sorry. I think that's it for us for now.
Yeah.
Any other future of the MCU speculations that you got? Oh, one other speculation I've heard is there is a rumor that the big inciting villain of what are you reaching for, my phone? The big inciting villain of, or maybe not villain, but antagonist in Black Panther 2 will be Namor, the King of Atlantis.
Namor. Do Namor with Claymore. I don't know why I said that.
I don't know either. But yes, thank you very much to Cal Kingslayer and Vincent Garzon for showing up. We appreciate it. Did you translate?
I'm trying to.
Let's see.
Hold on.
Let me see. Yeah. If you want to start talking about some of our other stuff real quick.
Yeah, so this will be the end of our To Infinity War and Beyond series because we passed up Infinity War. We went beyond. This is the closing of the third phase. So that is all over with. And so this will be the capstone of the series. This does not mean that we're not going to ever review a movie again. We just, we're going to wait a while before we, come up with a new clever name. And because, every new Marvel movie we're going to want to review so that we can talk about them because we like talking about movies, and we're going to be trying to do some new things in the future, whether it's here or elsewhere. So, definitely stay tuned to that. You got anything?
Apparently we say bad words.
Okay, well.
My bad.
We tried.
Tried not to.
Yeah, we don't normally say bad things. So.
If I dropped a wordy dirt, it's probably because it's what someone in the movie said, and I apologize.
Yeah, anyway.
Regardless, I got nothing else major to add. Excited to see what happens next. Mm-hmm. Really glad we're going to probably get a nice 7-month break from Marvel movies coming out in the theaters.
See some indies, something.
Or just not Marvel movies. Not that I don't love them. Just really glad to see some other stuff. That's about it. And we'll be back sometime after this upcoming week doing some video game streams. I'm going to be playing some Marvel Ultimate Alliance tonight with
nice.
Callie Kingslayer and Halo Smythe. I'll put their channels in the description of this video when we're done. We're going to be playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. I believe they beat it on anti-registration, so we're going to start playing through on pro-registration because it's all about Civil War. And we're prepping for July 19th is the release of Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and I believe we're going to be streaming that together as well.
Sweet.
So I'm excited to play some more Marvel. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at the Spice Must Joe.
And I'm at _Mrs. Davis.
You can find our communal account at Geek to My Nerd with underscores between each one. If you enjoyed this video of any sort, bad words and all, please give this video a like. Follow our channel for more other random generated geeky content that we enjoy and nerdy content that we enjoy. We got some plans for stuff in the future. We're going to start working on once you get back from your trip.
Yep.
And share with your friends. Talk about movies. Talk about non-movies. Which is the Infinity War stuff, so it's part of your series as well. Infinity War Beyond. That's true. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 has to do a lot with the Black Order and the Infinity Stones and Thanos and the Infinity War and stuff like that. So nice. So, dang it, I'm so late. It's cool, Randall. We do appreciate you popping in, though. We are actually about to wrap up.
Yep.
But once the video is done processing,
You can watch it from the beginning.
Feel free to pop in and say some stuff from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Randall. And we'll be seeing you guys in the future.